Hey there, Juggies, McJuggerNuggets here. We're just about to shoot the powwow for today, and we received some random guests, and they all are on their bikes. What's up, guys? Welcome to the McJuggerNuggets vlog. Let's get shout outs for everyone. What's everyone's names? Go down the line.
Mine's Trey. How you doing?
Mason.
Leo.
Dylan.
Good stuff, guys. And they're all in the East Bumble area. There's actually more people around here. What the heck? Oh.
They had to ride 5 miles out of here.
5 whole miles. That's so cool, guys. You guys saw the car though?
Yeah.
Let's be honest though. You like it or not?
I like it. It looks good.
Everyone likes it? All right, cool. Because it's growing on me a lot.
Yeah.
It's like, no. Hey there, Juggies. Your old pal McJuggerNuggets here. Welcome to the Juggies Powwow. We're on a tree right now, and you still did it. Not that that has anything to do with anything.
I thought I was allowed to do it.
Juggies, that previous clip was actually, that just happened. We had a few rogue bikers visit us. It was pretty cool. But we're going to do a powwow for you guys about one of our more serious topics, divorce and separation. Because like I was going to call it divorce, but I mean, my parents aren't divorced. They're just currently, you know, not living together. They are physically separated. As far as what the future holds, I do not know. But I figured this could be a good time where I could talk about some of my experiences, some of which, I mean, you've seen, and then Uncle Larry could share some of his stories, and hopefully it'll help you guys, because I know, you know, when I talked about suicide and depression way back when, those helped, and it seems the more serious topics are the ones people want to hear about. So, I mean, do you want to talk about your situation first with divorce, or?
With my parents?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Or you know.
No, we're not talking about. I'll just talk about my mom and dad. I told you that.
Okay.
You want me to go talk about that first? I mean, stories of that, or you want?
I think stories, just so we know like your background, and then I'll talk about my background, and then we'll go from there. So yeah.
My mom and dad were fighting ever since. My earliest memories are them screaming at each other. I mean, at the top of their lungs.
Now just keep in mind, it's also my mom's parents as well.
Yeah. I mean, my dad used to come home drunk, and I when I say drunk, I mean like really drunk.
Like how they were last night?
No, way worse than that. Way worse than that. And my dad would come home and he would be mad because my mom didn't have dinner ready for him, or we had dinner hours before he got home. Some nights he didn't even come home at all. But he would come home and he would scream.
How would he get home?
He drove.
Drunk?
Oh yeah. My dad lost his license several times.
I don't even know that about Papa.
Matter of fact, one time he had a Volkswagen. It was a brand new one too, and he hit a tree head on. Well, not head on, right to the side. They said if he had been an inch over, he'd have been killed.
Holy shit.
Yeah. My dad was always a piece of work. He used to come home, and I remember being so scared of him when I was a little kid, because he would come up, you know, in my room and wake me up and be like, "Hey, you want to go fishing, boy? Come on, boy, get up, let's go fishing."
Fishing?
Yeah.
This is late at night? You wanted to go fishing?
Yeah, it would be like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Did you ever go with him?
No, he never had any intentions to go.
He was just that drunk that he didn't know what he's saying.
Yeah.
So you think that is that why you think there, you know, well, what happened with your parents?
Well, eventually, it's funny because it's like we would go through spells with a lot of fighting going on, then all of a sudden, you know, everything
like arguing or like physical?
It never got physical. Like the only physical thing that
good.
my dad ever did was one time he came home in a drunken rage, and he actually like took the furniture and threw it all over, and he took a chair, threw it down the steps, put a hole in the wall.
Holy shit!
And my mom wasn't even home. She was out for, you know, with her girlfriends. I think she was bowling in a bowling league or something.
Okay.
So me and my brother was there, and you know, we woke up, you know, to all the screaming. So we waited until he just kind of passed out in his room, and we went downstairs and we put all the furniture back the way it was and everything.
So you think a lot of his behaviors is what led to
their divorce?
Yeah.
Oh, without a doubt.
Because yeah, my grandparents are divorced and his parents are divorced, and they've been that way for. It's been for as long as I've been around, right? Or maybe.
Yeah. Well, it was funny because they actually got separated probably at where he moved out when I was in high school, like 9th grade.
Okay.
But then something happened where he had gotten robbed and hit over the head and everything, and he came down here to live. For a short time, they were going to try to make it work out, and then they got into a big fight.
They did try to make it work again?
They tried to make it work, yeah, but it didn't work. And I remember my mom throwing his clothes out in the front lawn, and I come out the back door, and I was picking them all up and bringing them back into the house, yeah. But
that sounds like, wow. Well, so what happened when they tried to make it work, though?
It didn't work for very long.
Why do you think it didn't work?
It just went right back to the old stuff.
So there was no change then?
There was no change. No.
What do you think needed to change?
They both had to go seek help.
They both did?
They both did. Like,
was your mom okay? Do you think she was partial to blame, or was
Yeah, my mom had a couple things to blame. One of the things is, like, my mom always put the kids before her husband, always. Like, in other words, like, there would be things like, for instance, just even with dinner, like, the kids came first, dad's dinner came later, you know what I mean? He never ate the same food we ate. He had his own special food.
Wow.
We weren't allowed to eat his
Wow, I was just about to ask that. That's ridiculous.
He had his own ice cream, he had his own soda, he got to eat steak, we got to eat, like, you know, pot roast and stuff like that. So that's how I grew up, and it was a hostile environment. It really was.
Hearing you say all that, it's like, it's hard for me not to look at my life, and it's almost like history repeating itself.
Even though your dad has no part of our family, you know what I mean? He's not.
And that's what's interesting. It's like I could understand it if, you know, my dad was your brother,
right? But
it's not.
Right.
But I can understand my mom's aversion to everything because she grew up with that. And if anything, it's like me growing up with that. That's the epitome of what I don't want to experience.
Right.
And so I'm going to try my very best to not emulate that type of relationship. But yeah, just like going off what you said, I think, and I'm trying not to talk bad about anyone. I'm not trying to, you should talk to my dad, because I was getting upset with my mom and Aunt Melissa talking bad about him last night. But like, his behaviors over the last couple of years has gotten a little out of hand, just with me specifically, and just like not listening to my mom, and my mom's trying to defend me. And my mom, I think she takes a lot after my grandmom then, and your mom, where she really cares about what's best for me. And I guess for the longest time that was what mattered. But I guess now that I'm older, she's thought, okay, you know, he's raised, and you know, now it's about me. You know, it's time that I'm happy, and I guess she wasn't. And
we used to always have like this little joke that we would say about my mom. My mom, as her child, like, and any of her children, they could do anything that was wrong,
right?
And she would always make an excuse all the time for him. Like, in other words, like, I to this day I always say that I could have killed somebody, and my mom would have been like, no, not my son, not my son. And then if the cop would have said, yeah, but he had a gun in his hand and he fired it, well, then they deserve to be shot. That's what. Oh, wow. That's how my mom's attitude towards her kids.
And that's why I've always liked Grandma. Is she's one of the nicest people in the world, and that's crazy. That's huge. And that reminds me of my mom, yeah, because she would do anything, and I think that's why it's been especially hard, because you know, it feels like, you know, we're trying not to make this a gloomy one,
right?
It's just like, you know, when she left the house, it felt like a slight against me, because, you know, she's always chose, right, with that, she always chose her kids, she always chose me over, you know, her own self. So for her to be choosing herself now, I can't blame her, but at the same time, it feels like, what did I do? What did I do to deserve this?
And that's the thing. That's really the people that get hurt anytime that two adults are fighting or want to get separated or divorced. The people that pay the most are the children.
Right. And I know that's why a lot of, like, I've had friends like in high school and stuff, that's why their parents stayed together, was just because of the kids. And that was just like, you know, we have to maintain appearances, we have to act like we're happy and getting along, just so we can instill that kind of value onto our children and the relationships they're gonna have.
And then some people will separate after the kids get to become adults.
What do you think is like, is that right to be saving face for the kids, or should they be?
Yeah, I mean, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? Because I mean, it's like, it depends on what kind of environment it actually is creating at home. If there's a hostile environment, then it's better for the two to actually be separated or divorced, because the kid is going to be the one that suffers if he's in that environment with constant fighting and all that stuff. Because a kid, what's the first thing a kid does? A kid always like is it me?
Right.
Am I the one that's creating this?
And that's why I've been trying not to get involved, but it's hard for me not to, because I do feel responsible. I know, like, the things that go on in my house are a lot because my dad doesn't agree with, like, gaming and stuff. And that conflict, I know, bleeds into their relationship too, and it's hard for me not to assign blame to myself, and that's why I think I just feel so compelled to try and get them back.
Right.
It's hard though. It's like, you know, I like things were good with them, and you know, yeah, we've had kind of the bad times, you know, more recently, but you know, do you think, kind of like how your parents like tried to make it work, do you think
Right.
that there is a potential for it to work after that?
Only if both parties are willing to make it, to give some kind of, you have to give and take with every kind of situation. I think if they're willing to both seek therapy for it, and
Right.
the other, even if one person is like 90% at fault and the other one's only 10, I mean, nobody's perfect, so somebody has to have a little bit of fault in a relationship. So even if it's like that, the other person still has to go to therapy, just so that they're working with the unit.
How does it get to the point where you're willing to change? Like, it just has to be something that truly matters to you?
Yeah, and that's what it is. It's like what really matters to you in life.
And that's what I hope. I hope that, you know, they've been married for so long that they have to matter.
And to tell you
you
the
know?
truth, with with your mom and dad, and the whole thing is like, that's one of the things that I was hoping. I was hoping that your mom was just going to take time and just start to think about the good times,
what
mostly.
matters,
and
right.
and maybe she could have a heart to heart with them, and they could sit down and talk, and then maybe they could try therapy or something like that to get better. That's why I was saying last night and I don't want to harp on this, but I mean with
Right.
Melissa, it's like, that's the last thing she needs right now. She needs to sit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She needs to sit there and just think on her own. Of what
Yeah.
she really wants. She doesn't need to be influenced one way or the
Especially
other.
like negativity also. It's
Right.
like, it's one thing if she was like drunk and being like, you just got to give Jeff a chance. But like, I always thought, it's better to give a second chance than not. Because I think, I like to think that we're generally trying to help each other out.
Right.
Always. So, and it's just, I find it better to choose optimism.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way I look at it too. I mean, I think everything is always easy to just like step out of something. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
if you were in a basketball game, just say, and you're losing, it's easy to sit there and say,
Just
I quit.
throw in the towel and
I quit. And walk off the court. It's harder to sit there and stay in that and lose the game, but maybe you learn something in that game.
Yeah, or maybe even, it's so hard and you struggle so much, but you end up winning in the end.
Right.
It's just a matter of how much you're willing to take and then, trying to grow from it. And I guess if you grow apart, you do, but at least you gave it another shot. And I think this is the first time they've ever really been separated. I think it definitely merits at least one more try.
I think so too. That's the way I believe.
So for those of you guys watching, some of you guys maybe younger, and it's different. For me to say I'm 23 and this is all coming at me. Had I grown up with it, I don't know, and I don't know what that does to you. I know I got a taste of like what some people get. Like when it came down time to Thanksgiving, I went to 2 separate houses. I went on my dad's side and then I went to my mom's side, and it was cool. It was cool in one regard because I got 2 meals, and
Right.
I got to kind of have 2 Thanksgivings with 2 families, and it was nice. But like at the same time, everything was separated, and used to be all together, and it's just, I don't know, what was it like growing up with it?
Well, we didn't go. My mom's side of the family died early, like her mom and dad. Her dad died when I was born, and her mom died when I was 10 or 11 years old in a car accident. So
Wow.
there was no going separate places. We always did everything at home. So it would just be like, and for the most part for holidays, Dad did, he was there. But, like I said, they stayed together, but they fought all the time. So it was a very hostile
So
environment.
did you have a choice whether you stayed with your mom or your dad?
When my dad moved, no, my mom kicked my dad's ass out.
Okay, so there
Yeah.
was no choice. It
No,
was like
there
you
was
were
no
with,
choice,
If
yeah.
you did have the choice, you'd still stay
And
with
that was
your mom?
actually when we moved down here. That's when he moved out. In that case, that nobody knows that where I live used to be the house that I grew up in. And when we moved down here, she kicked his ass out, and it was my teenage years when he was actually kicked out of the house.
I'm choosing to stay at the house that I'm currently in with my dad. Because I thought about, I'm moving out in a month, and that's what I keep telling myself.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I don't know. I was thinking about maybe just, staying with my mom just for this next month. But at the same time, I don't know. Maybe she just does need to be by herself, and it wouldn't really help much. I just got to stick it out at home with my dad and Jeffrey.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard choice, you know, who do you go with, you know what I mean, like that kind of a thing, especially for younger than you. You have a choice. You can go out like you're planning to do.
Right.
But, you know, with really young kids, they don't have a choice.
Yeah.
You know, they either are going to stay with mom or they're going to go with dad. It's going to be one or the other. And that's what I was saying. They're the real victims always in that.
Kids.
Yes, exactly. And that's what one of the things I would love to stress to all the people listening, especially as they're going through any kind of situation. It is never the kid's fault, ever.
It's never you guys' fault. And yeah, and that's something, you know, I've been struggling with. And it's like, you guys are important. And if anything, they try to make it work for you. That's how much they care about you. And, you know, just because one of your parents has to go away somewhere doesn't mean they're not thinking about you always and care, because that's always the case. And it's just an unfortunate consequence when, you know, the relationship doesn't work. Just to start transitioning, you kind of got, you know, our stories. I mean, you guys know, like, my stories is freaking all plastered on the internet. It's just like some of the shit that goes down in my house. You've seen my parents fight. I mean, this has been happening for a while now. And just the disagreements they have, and these disagreements can start to really take their toll over time, and then it, you know, comes to a head, I guess. And I just wanted to, like, spew off that, like, don't feel bad, like, try not to, because I mean, this happens all the time. What is it, like 50% of, you know, couples get divorced, and, you know, it's like just in this, you know, 1 year span, you know, there's you know, for every 2 marriages, one of those gets divorced. And that's a lot. Yeah.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. And it's becoming the norm. And I think about it sometimes, like, I don't know if you guys, you know, believe in, like, you know, like, you guys are religious or believe in the science thing, but just looking at, you know, animals, only 3% of mammals are monogamous, aka they only have one partner for their whole life. It's extremely rare. And I was just reading stuff about how, like, it became a thing so that, you know, rival guys wouldn't kill the offspring of another guy. Like, if you know, if a guy impregnated a woman and had the baby, it was to, you know, they became monogamous so that another guy wouldn't come and, like, kill the baby. Like, and that's how it kind of started coming. And I'm not entirely sure if humans were ever meant to be monogamous, because the divorce rates are the way they are, and just, I know just guys naturally want to, like,
screw everybody,
everyone.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, that's seen across the board with most mammals. It's just like, maybe there is a natural pull for us not to be with one person. And I mean, that's just me going off of just, like, random scientific shit, but, like, this is me rationalizing things at the same time.
Right.
It's just, it's hard, and you know, your mind's gonna go in 50 million different directions when something like this happens. But yeah, well, like Uncle Larry is saying, just don't blame yourself, really. And it's hard, and then don't try it, and then, you know, it's easy to say, but really work on not comparing yourself to another family, like your best friend. Oh, his family's all perfect. You know, he doesn't know the struggle you've had, because, you know, his family his whole life was perfect. They had family dinners, and, you know, they go out on vacation together and have just a great life. And, you know, I know it's probably hard to not resent that person because they had that, but just know, like, this isn't their fault, and it's not your fault either. That's just sucks.
Right. And then, you know, I just want to hit a little tiny bit on the other side of that, because you were doing it from the science standpoint. So I'll just hit on the religious standpoint of it.
Yeah.
We all believe that there's a sinful nature that's built into man because of original sin. So I think our tendency is to want to screw everybody, and because we're not that much different than an animal. I mean, we're all made out of the same stuff, realistically. I mean, and what I believe is that it takes something within ourselves to get ourselves away from
the temptations.
The temptation, yeah. But I mean, and that's a lifelong struggle with a lot of men. It is. A man is a very visual kind of a thing, and he sees a lot of beautiful women out there, and it's so tempting and everything.
It's a natural response. It's just like, oh wow. And it's just almost like with food sometimes. you know, if you ever overate or like you maybe drank too much one night, it's like there's a level of self-control, and it's like, you know, evaluating what really matters. You know, do I want to eat that second burger or that donut? And then it's like, can you restrain yourself? And then what's keeping you, what's holding that discipline intact? Like what really matters? Like what's keeping you from like talking to another girl and, you know, or, you know, separating yourself from a 30-year marriage?
Right. And that's the thing, is like we didn't look at the statistics on this or anything, but
right, because you guys can all do that. You can just do a Google search.
Yeah, I would like to know what the statistic is for for divorces. Is the #1 cause of divorce unfaithfulness?
Right.
I mean, I mean, from a logical standpoint, I would have to say that it most probably is. You know, but there are a lot of other divorces that had nothing to do with that. It's just other stuff that goes on.
Right.
You know,
and it's hard. Like, you know, I'm with Juliet right now, and it's hard for it not to affect our relationship. And it's because, you know, when you look to your parents, you look to them for, you know, guidance, to set an example across the board, role models. And it's like when you see that, it kind of messes you up. Like me personally going forward, I don't know about marriage. I don't plan on getting married for at least the next 5 years. I'm in a long-term relationship right now, but as far as marriage, like that's intense. Like that, I really don't know, because like, you know, my parents now, and just like divorce in general, and like, am I gonna want the same thing 5 years from now? Like, is that even a realistic expectation? Or is this old news? Like, I thought maybe, you know, 30 years down the road, is divorce rate gonna be like freaking 75%? And are we just leading toward, like, are my grandchildren gonna be like, they used to get married back in the day? One person your whole life? That's stupid. Why limit yourself? So I don't, it's really, it fucks with your head. And, you know, I mean, you can marry a man now. 2 girls can get married, and that wasn't a thing back then. And it's just like relationships are becoming so much more complicated now, especially with the internet. It's like, I can understand why divorce and separation happens, and it's just, it is really hard on the kids.
Sure it is. My biggest tip is just don't blame yourself if you're in that kind of a situation where your parents are fighting or they're getting divorced. Don't blame yourself. I mean, and try to stay neutral. And that's a hard thing too, is try to stay neutral in that, to let them work it out. If you pick one side or the other, the only thing you're actually going to do is actually probably create more tension.
Yeah,
and if you need somebody to talk to, you need to find somebody to talk to.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, you know, I do these powwows, and then, you know, maybe they don't get that many views, but yeah, final words, don't blame yourself, and reach out. Like, I do these for you guys, just so, I mean, it's also good to vent, but it's nice to try and create a little community, and you guys can reach out in the comments, and other people are going through the same, like a lot of people
are. That's what I was just going to say. You know, the chances are that to surround yourself with somebody who is going through the same exact situation, it can help you, you know, draw off of each other, you know, like
share your experiences, and they're going to share theirs, and then you might find like, wow, we're actually not that different. We're going through similar things. You know, I know a lot of people offhand that are going through similar situations. If they just talk to each other and reach out, and, you know, they can make each other feel better, and that's what we're trying to do here, is create awareness, and you guys can deal with this stuff, and I hope this helped you guys. Alright, Jays, that's it for this powwow. I hope you enjoyed it. Let us know in the comments if you guys want to hear us chime off on other random topics, or if this helped you, or even share your story in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more content. Twitter, Instagram, links in the description. Don't forget to subscribe to Uncle Larry's channel. We actually were just talking with the 5 kids that stopped by earlier about the 1 million party, so let's try and make that happen. They were super hype, and they said a lot of people in the area would be about that.
Yeah, that would be cool.
And not even in the area. You guys can like catch a flight and come on out, and big. Huge. It's so big. Alright, Jays, love y'all to death, and don't forget to keep it rigid.